Now, we explained the affordability issue on healthcare, housing, and education, but we know throughout the week that you've had questions and concerns, and you have offered me up other considerations when it comes to why certain parts of our economy have become unaffordable. So we want to address some of your concerns. So here to help us is Kingsview Wealth Management CIO Scott Martin. Scott, thanks for being with us here today. I want to go right into housing. We spent the week talking about housing. We've talked about supply, demand, the role of immigration. We have talked about various contributing factors into why it is so hard now to buy a first home. And one viewer named Eloise, she writes into us the following: why does no one ever mention BlackRock and others buying up all the homes? What do you think about this? This is not something that is new. I've heard about this. Big investment companies like BlackRock reducing the supply of homes by buying up so much of the inventory and turning them into rentals.
Yes, and then charging exorbitant prices, renting these homes at prices that are well beyond what a private person would rent them for, and also well beyond what they would be normally rented for if BlackRock, a big conglomerate, a big company that has massive amounts of access to capital, massive amounts of money in the bank, a very low interest rate, basically boys and girls, for which they buy the home at or borrow the funds at, if they even have to borrow, therefore just make a massive profit. And you talked about this with the good doctor. As you have less supply or say prices get skewed, it pushes out those that can frankly build or buy the home or afford it. So therefore, those folks that Eloise is talking about, hopefully it wasn't her, but she's exactly astute. There is a group of people that, because of BlackRock and other folks, even the Chinese and other foreign folks, are coming in and absolutely skewing the prices and taking away these homes, these dream places for Americans who can't afford it all of a sudden because they're coming in, the big companies, and skewing the prices and messing them up.
And what can we do about that, Scott? I mean, to what extent is that? There are several contributing factors to the housing market's supply problem, including, for example, some 30 to 4 million illegal immigrants taking up some percentage of the housing inventory. But what about these big companies, these big investment houses? What about BlackRock? How much of a role are they playing? I hear you, and I hear Eloise. They are playing a role. How much?
Well, here's the story. What's funny about the BlackRock and say the foreign investors is they do things where it's kind of a convoluted effect where you don't exactly know how many folks are in there, how many, say, companies are in there messing around. Will they put things in funds and things like that, so it skews it. But you're looking at, in the teens, 10s, 20% of some of these home prices now, and the effect on those home prices are because of these conglomerates coming in. Great question. What can we do? Wow. There's a lot of things I'd like to do to BlackRock. There's a lot of things I'd like to say to BlackRock, and even on cable, I won't do that. But you can start to let, say, the government know what's going on. Now, the problem is, as we know, in government, with regards to BlackRock, there's government reasons that maybe they don't say anything to BlackRock right away, or they don't have any regulations that tend to prevent them from doing this. But the reality is, as long as this message gets out there, I think the banks especially maybe can start to take a role in some of the lending to the small person or the small investor to say, hey, at least that lending can be competitive, and at least these prices, maybe put some price caps on things that would not allow, say, BlackRock to jack up the rates as they have for, say, the rental prices.
All right, Scott, so one of the things we're doing today is I'm hoping to respond to viewer concerns, viewer contributions to these conversations. I will tell you, I got emails, I've gotten notes about the role that baby boomers, and I know I have many baby boomers watching today, and it's not to place blame in any particular position, but that they are holding on to a lot of the housing inventory. Now, Donna writes in, and she gives us a reason as to why. She says many empty nesters and baby boomers would love to sell their homes and downsize, but they have so much equity in their homes that the capital gains tax would eat away at much of that equity. It's time to raise the capital gains tax exemptions on single and married homeowners and give them the incentive they need to sell and move. And that would seem to address, Scott, what I'm hearing from some younger buyers as well, who feel like these homes are being held on to for decades and not re-emerging in the housing inventory.
I actually disagree. I think that the capital gains exemption at $500,000 is pretty fair if you think of the average home price, just under about $500,000. So it's great. Donna knows some people, and maybe herself has a bigger gain than that she's going to get taxed on, which would be, anything about $500,000 if it's your primary residence. So that's actually been pretty fair, I think. The problem has been, and you mentioned this with Peter Ducey, the red tape. The regulations on building homes, some communities, some cities, have made it very difficult for new builders or even existing builders to come in and expand supply, which, as you noted so astutely, Will, expanding supply is what's going to be the fix for price. I don't think it's so much as tax reform here, because of the fact that, tax reform is the Republicans make tax reform right now, and the Democrats take it away in 2 or 3 years. So the reality is we got to get the regulations down and get more builders out there giving more supply, and that will actually make the market more free.
That's true. It is true also that existing sales seem somewhat frozen at the moment. And there's a lot of contributing factors to that, including the current interest rate, but there's just not a lot of turnover right now in the housing market. And it's making it difficult. And we appreciate you addressing a lot of these viewers' concerns today. Thanks for being with us, Scott.
See you.